So we have come to the second phase of our discussion on agrarian theology. It is about the golden age of food security. So that is our goal. Agrarian theology's goal is, one of the goal is the production of quality food for everybody, not only humans. We produce also for creatures, other creatures, animals also. So what is food security? So we need to focus our attention on this concept and understand it perfectly. Food security means that all people at all times have physical and economic access to adequate amounts of nutritious, safe, and culturally appropriate foods, which are produced in an environmentally sustainable and socially just manner, and that people are able to make informed decisions about their food choices. There are a lot of words, important words, not even one word is useless. Every word is meaningful. So you read it again later on, focusing on each and every word. All right. Food security also means that the people who produce our food are able to earn a decent living wage, growing, catching, producing, processing, transporting, retailing, and serving food. At the core of food security is access to healthy food and optimal nutrition for all. Food access is closely linked to food supply. So food security is dependent on a healthy and sustainable food system. The food system includes the production, processing, distribution, marketing, acquisition, and consumption of food. Masanobu Fukuoka describes how we should obtain food, how one should approach food. It's a beautiful quote. People should relate to nature as birds do. Birds don't run around carefully preparing fields, planting seeds, and harvesting food. They don't create anything. They just receive what is there for them with a humble and grateful heart. Hey, that is the way you should approach food. Nature gives you everything. You go and receive from nature. Don't press the nature. Don't climb a tree and then pluck mangoes, fruits, cut branches, cut the whole tree. No, that is not the way to obtain food. The best way to obtain food is go and pick up the fruit which have fallen from the trees. Take them and eat them. That is the way you obtain food. Jesus also teaches in the same way. Actually, Masanobu Fukuoka learned from Jesus probably because Jesus was prior. So he said 2000 years ago, look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value, he writes, Matthew writes in the chapter 6, verse 26. Vegetarianism as the best food security. Yes. Good health, psychological, physical, and we belong to mammalian order. We are known as mammals. So mammals eat vegetarian food. Yes. All our closest cousins like apes, monkeys, primates, all of them are vegetarians except only one monkey, that is humans. They are non-vegetarians. We are dysfunctional. I already mentioned about dysfunctionality. Humans are dysfunctional species. So all mammalian order, they eat vegetables except Homo sapiens. Here is one beautiful incident narrated in the book of Daniel. You know, Daniel and his companions, the 4 young men in the prison, they were given royal food, meat, choicest wine, etc., etc. But Daniel told to the royal kitchen, no, we don't want, we want vegetarian food. See, give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Daniel chapter 1:12. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the God took away their choice food and the wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables instead. The next verse tells us how wise and intelligent the people, those who eat vegetarian food. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. And Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. Even the occult knowledge you receive if you are a vegetarian. Food plays a very, very important role, not only in our health, also in our psyche. One example, in India, Brahmins, they eat only vegetarian food. So many people call Brahmins are intelligent, they are wise. I don't know about it, but they say. I don't know whether food plays an important role in making one wise and intelligent. I don't know. I am not a scientist. So, but anyway, it is up to you to examine this statement and find whether it is true or false. So I already discussed about this, 2016 United Nations International Year of Pulses. So this is a very good choice. I think I am eating everyday pulses. In my kitchen I have all the dry beans, dried chickpeas and lentils. Even today afternoon I drank pea soup. So the vegetable soup. It's very healthy. So we come to the second subheading in the second phase of our discussion. It's about new bold green revolution or sustainable agriculture. Whatever words we use, no? Pope Francis is calling it a new bold cultural revolution. Whatever we call, it can be translated into sustainable agriculture. So that is the internationally used word today. Most of the United Nations conventions on climate change and global warming, all of them use sustainable agriculture. One more word you can use it, diversified and sustainable agriculture. In media, in internet, in international politics, they prefer this word. In the 1990s, specific examples of sustainable agriculture began to be collated and disseminated. Sustainable farming makes the best use of nature's goods and services while not damaging the environment. It does this by integrating natural processes such as nutrient cycling, nitrogen fixation, soil regeneration, and natural enemies of pests into food production processes. It minimizes the use of non-renewable inputs like fertilizers and pesticides that damage the environment or harm the health of farmers and consumers. And it makes better use of the knowledge and skills of farmers, so improve their self-reliance and capacities. In his encyclical Laudato Si, Pope Francis calls out for a bold cultural revolution in the paragraph number 114 to counteract two revolutions that may have destroyed our planet. Number one, industrial revolution in the 18th and the 19th century, and the other one is green revolution, which started off in the 1960s. So Pope Francis is calling the international community to start off the bold cultural revolution against these two revolutions which destroyed our natural world, which too created ecological crisis. The new bold cultural revolution includes some of the astonishing methods that could steer our path towards sustainable agriculture. The following are some of the initiatives that come under sustainable agriculture. Permaculture or permanent agriculture, horticulture, polyculture, genetically modified, that is GM technology, seed selection, aquaculture, and animal husbandry, and also food gathering. All the above mentioned aspects are included in agrarian theology. And we need to find biblical references to them. So I tried to find some references. I'm going to teach about them as an examples, all right? And actually you Jesuit seminarians, Jesuit theologians like you need to dig out more references in favor of permaculture, in favor of horticulture, in favor of polyculture, in favor of even genetically modified technology, seed production, aquaculture, animal husbandry, food gathering, etc. and etc. This new bold cultural and green revolution is still to make a breakthrough. However, in the minds of many policymakers and agricultural advisors who cling to the belief that the industrial farming and its chemical route is the best way forward. In many countries, sustainable agriculture remains a sleeping partner. These initiatives show that significant improvements in agricultural production and food security can be achieved through the use of regenerative technologies and the full participation of farmers in the processes of planning, research, and extension. In many of the initiatives analyzed, crop yields have more than doubled compared with the period before the adoption of sustainable agriculture. For non-irrigated crops like pulse, yields typically increased by 50 to 100% and by even more in some cases. Some 60 cover crop species have been tested with farmers, including leguminous plants such as velvet bean, jug bean, lab, cowpeas, vetches, and crotallarias. Pope Francis foresees the sustainability in the future, sustainable and diversified agriculture. He writes in the paragraph number 180 of Laudato Si, planning a diversified agriculture and the rotation of crops very important. Agriculture in poorer regions can be improved through investment in rural infrastructures. A better organization of local or national markets, systems of irrigation, and the development of techniques of sustainable agriculture. New forms of cooperation and community organization can be encouraged in order to defend the interest of small farmers or producers and preserve local ecosystems from destruction. Truly much can be done. That's a brilliant writing from Pope. Usually Pope never wrote this kind of stuff. They wrote about hell, heaven, purgatory, grace, liberation, redemption, salvation, etc., etc. But who wrote about agriculture, irrigation, sustainable agriculture, markets, ecosystems? Oh my God. Truly it's a new revelation indeed. New revelation is happening, unfolding in front of your eyes right now. Right now. This is the manifestation of God. This is the revelation of God. I'm talking about these insights, these new ideas, these new attitudes, this new thought process, revelation, manifestation of God. All these efforts can push new agricultural revolution to new heights to witness a golden age of food security that is unfolding in front of our eyes. Let's look at some of them in detail. Here is the beautiful quote from Masanobu Fukuoka. When it is understood that one loses joy and happiness in the attempt to possess them, the essence of natural farming will be realized. The ultimate goal of farming is not the growing of crops, but the cultivation and perfection of human beings. So, we are going to discuss about permaculture. which is known as the permanent agriculture. This is one of the examples what Jesus gives. Wheat and the weeds from Matthew chapter 13, no? In other words, Jesus is telling permanent agriculture. Permaculture incorporates everything in the growing of crops. Even weeds are considered to be resources. Even weeds. Nothing is wasted. That is the point. Everything you can use in the agricultural practice. And also not expensive input. It's all thrown away stuff. Everything is free. Nature gives you free. There is no economic input into agriculture. Nothing. Zero. Only you get profit. That's it. There is no investment. Only profit. That is the very idea of permaculture. The word permaculture was coined by Australian Bill Mollison in the late 1970s. At its most basic, the word is an abbreviation of permanent agriculture. Mollison defines permaculture as, in his book, Food for All. I think that book you should have in your library. Otherwise, please place an order. This is one of the books for bibliography. All right. By Madley John, Food for All. It's a beautiful book. Please get that book. If you don't get the book, you tell me I got a book and you can make a photocopy and you can use it in your library. So I'm going to read a quote from that book. The conscious design and maintenance of agriculturally productive ecosystems which have the diversity, stability, and resilience of natural ecosystems. So that is permanent agriculture. The purest form of low external input agriculture is permaculture, which, strictly speaking, makes no use of inputs from outside a farmer's immediate locality, not even manure or credit facilities. Permaculture spread rapidly in the last 2 decades of the 20th century and is often proving highly productive in terms of overall farm output. Permaculture is doubly organic because its emphasis on recycling makes sure that nutrients continue to revolve to the benefit of a farm. It is more energy conscious than normal organic farming. See the shortest def in the middle. No, permaculture is doubly organic. That's a good word. Doubly organic. In the parable of the wheat and the weeds, Jesus argues in favor of weeds as if they also can play a vital role capable of contributing minerals to the crops. In Matthew 13 we read, Jesus says no, because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned. Then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn. Actually, 2000 years ago, Jesus is arguing in favor of weeds. I mean, today the scientists say weeds play a vital role of fixing nitrogen to the soil and also to the crops. That is the role they play. Weeds are known as nitrogen fixers. They can tap nitrogen directly from the atmosphere. Wheat and rice, they don't they are unable to trap nitrogen because they don't have the nitrogen fixation nodules embedded in their roots. Only wheats have them. That's why we give nitrogen-based fertilizers to wheat and rice crops, because they don't have nitrogen fixation equipment attached. But wheats, they have it. That's why you allow the wheats. So through all the crop maintenance, these weeds play a major role of fixing nitrogen to the soil and also to the main crop like wheat and rice. 2000 years ago, Jesus talked like a scientist, like an organic farmer. Wow. While permaculture systems vary, they usually involve the careful mix of trees and crops to obtain maximum yields, the use of mulches, the integration of livestock and crops, and use of green manure, ground cover plants to protect soil and build up soil fertility. Tree crops are used for fodder as well as for controlling soil erosion. Plants which are drought tolerant like mulberry may be planted on the least productive farms. Practitioner Mike Feingold states, permaculture is about good use of resources, about using local resources to meet local needs. Permaculture is about the integration of what is grown in the land to the local economy. India's agriculture sector continues to play an important role in the economy as it employs 2/3 of the population and contributes over 1/3 to the gross domestic product, that is GDP. Oh my God. 2/3 of the population in India are agrarian, and they produce 1/3 of GDP. Fantastic. 1/3 of GDP. Today, India is 9%, let us say, 9% GDP we are producing in India. So 3% GDP comes from agriculture. That is huge. Huge. 3%. It's unbelievable. That is the importance of agriculture in India. The growth of this sector is undoubtedly vital for the growth of the economy. Given the structure of the Indian economy, the growth in national income has largely been determined by the trends in agricultural production, as agriculture forms the largest component of GDP and has overall impact on other sectors through input linkages, employment, and income. Now, we are going to discuss on horticulture or cultivating gardens. Prophet Jeremiah gives a small explanation about horticulture in chapter 29. Build the houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. The word horticulture comes from two Latin words which mean garden and culture. Horticulture is the art and science of growing and handling fruits, nuts, vegetables, herbs, flowers, foliage plants, woody ornamentals, and turf. It differs from botany and other plant sciences in that horticulture incorporates both science and aesthetics. Examples of horticulture include landscaping, gardening, growing crops for food, fiber, and fuel, horticultural therapy, using horticultural methods to treat patients, and arboriculture, the care of trees. When you go to market, especially food market, you find those colorful vegetables. Colorful. You go to a big store and you find with those beaming lights, oranges, apples, tomatoes, carrots, green beans. I mean, it is so colorful. The plant-based food is so beautiful, pleasing to the eyes. Today, most of the food, at least in the West, is produced in horticulture. In horticulture. It looks, God's seeds produce small stuff. Human seeds produce big, colorful stuff. I am not undermining God's wisdom here. Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand me. God's seeds are so beautiful. Even though they are small, they are feisty. They are nutritious. But they may not be so attractive to your eyes. The color, the texture, the size. No. Because God's seeds were created only once. There is no upgrade. God doesn't upgrade his own seeds. I mean, he don't have to do that. He did it perfectly. Only genetically modified seeds, horticulture seeds, they need upgrade every day. Every day they upgrade. So they become big, colorful, because it is done aesthetically. It's an art. So they constantly produce new technologies. They incorporate lot of chemicals, etc. Like our watermelon. Look at the watermelon. How many different melons today available? God created only one watermelon. Humans created hundreds and thousands of watermelons. Every day they are inventing new species of watermelon. Inside color, so reddish. Some goyas, so reddish. Some grapefruit, my God, they're all colorful. I mean, they are making beautiful, and I mean, I don't know how far they are good to your health, I don't know. But they make good stuff. There is no doubt about it, but still God's seeds and God's fruits and vegetables, they have nutritious value and also health value. Remember that. So in today's markets full of horticulture products, that is what I would like to tell you. In Luke Gospel, there are some profound lessons on horticulture taught by Jesus Christ himself. In chapter 13, and he began telling this parable. A man had a fig tree which had been planted in his vineyard, and he came looking for fruit on it and did not find any. And he said to the vineyard keeper, "Behold, for 3 years I have come looking for fruit on this fig tree without finding any. Cut it down. Why does it even use up the ground?" And the gardener answered and said to him, "Let it alone, sir. for this year too, until I dig around it and put in fertilizer. Then, if it bears after that, it will be all right. But if it doesn't, then you can cut it down. Simple lesson Jesus is giving us. Here, fertilizer means it's not nitrogen-based fertilizer like modern inventions. No, fertilizer means Jesus means mulch, waste, leaves, probably animal waste. So that kind of fertilizer. So it is a permanent agriculture, permaculture. That is what Jesus is teaching. He is bringing permaculture into horticulture. Look at that. That's beautiful. Jesus bringing the knowledge of permaculture and giving to the people, those who practice horticulture. Integral. He is integrating both. Today we need to learn from Jesus how to farm. See how nicely he is integrating the two sectors of food production. Amazing. Now we discuss about polyculture, which means intercropping. Actually, the opposite is monocropping. Monocropping means only one crop. Polyculture means our ancestors, they practiced it between month of June to February. We called it Vanavari. That is the Tamil word we used. So in that way we were supporting biodiversity, different species of animals and plants by growing different crops, because different animals dependent on different crops. If you plant only one crop, only one creature can benefit. The other creatures, they will all die. That is what is happening today around the world. In Malaysia, they used to have a huge tropical rainforest which was supporting huge amount of biodiversity. In 1960s and 70s, they wanted to grow palm oil. We are buying palm oil from Malaysia. So they wanted to produce and make money and profit. So they destroyed huge amount of forest and they planted monocrop, only palm oil. So that made many species of animals die out. They disappeared. Some of them went out of existence. In other words, they went extinct. So that is how a lot of animals were destroyed because of monocropping. So polycrop supports many species of animals. Monocrop kills all the animals. Intercropping, also known as mixed cropping, diversified agriculture or polyculture as opposed to monoculture, has a long and successful history. International community has obtained a global consensus on this type of agriculture. Pope Francis is writing in the paragraph number 164, I already pointed out the text for you. Just quickly, once more, I would like to point out, such a consensus could lead, for example, to planning a sustainable and diversified agriculture. Apostle St. Paul knows better. He writes in the 2 Corinthians, "Now this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly." Maybe monoculture is a sparing. You are going to get only a few benefits. And he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. So when you have more polycropping, a diversified agriculture, you are going to reap abundantly. That is what our ancestors did. Your great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, my father, your father. All of them, they cultivate Vanavari from June to February. When one crop failed, for example, if groundnuts failed, lentils, they brought the profit. If, what is that? If another beans failed, sorghum, it gave high yield. So one crop failing is not a big deal because other crops are going to give you profit. If you had only one crop, if that failed, I think you lost everything. When you cultivate 15 crops in your land, if 1, 2, 3, even 5 crops fail, it's not a big loss. Another 10 crops are going to give you sustenance and you're going to be happy. This is how it works. This is how it works. Resource-poor farmers down the centuries have evolved intercropping systems to produce the food they needed. They were aware that cropping technologies has to be in balance with nature and not denude the soil's nutrients, and were often highly innovative, trying to develop a system best suited to their land. They experimented with different mixes of crops, learned the best ways to ward off pests, found ways of coping with harsh weather, and generally developed a way of farming that worked for them in a sustainable manner. This is the picture of polycropping or multi-cropping. See, there is sorghum, there is kind of beans, and there is lentil plants on your left, even groundnuts at the background, and lot of other crops. They are also hiding in this picture, we can't see. Also weeds are there, a lot of weeds there. So this is the essence of polycropping. Yet their agriculture is dismissed by modernists as primitive, backwards, low productivity, something in need of change. The reality is that productivity per hectare can be higher than under modern agriculture. Vandana Shiva puts it so beautifully. Small ecological farms have productivity hundreds of times higher than large industrial farms based on conventional farms. Intercropping has logical advantages. Among the benefits are that it results in more efficient utilization of resources, light, water, nutrients by plants of different height, canopy structures, and nutrient requirements, provides insurance against crop failure, especially in areas subject to frost, flood, and drought, provides effective cover to soil and reduce the loss of soil moisture, and the shading provided by complex crop canopies helps to suppress weeds. It may also mean that pests and disease are kept under control. That book also, Please Place an Order, written by Hans Collier, Understanding Traditional Agriculture. That's a beautiful, beautiful book. And also I want to suggest you one more book by Nammalwar, Thai Man. Very important book. Thai Man. Okay? You got that? Taiman. So,
Yes, Father.
okay, you get that book. Okay, you take a break and you come back
Yes,
after
Father.
15